Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features X-Men Volume 2, number 33, cover dated June 1994. No cover caption here, no cover caption required. We've got the monstrous figure of Sabertooth jumping down on an unawares Gambit as he looks out from the edge of probably what is a Gothic church. And when we look at the inside of the story, we'll see indeed that there is a Gothic church key to the story. And we've got this pretty cool figure of the gargoyle here looking very contemplatively out at the night. So the cover drawn by Andy Kubert, inked by Matthew Ryan and coloured by Lovern Kinderski. Really cool, savage looking Sabertooth, and nice shadows picked out here. And nice inking here on Sabertooth's mane, the mane of his costume. Okay, and that's the Jim Lee redesign he's wearing on the cover, but inside the issue he'll be wearing his original uniform or costume. So let's open it up to the splash page here. Center that for the camera. The title of this story is The Heart of Thieves, an untold tale of Gambit's past, something that's been teased way back in issue number 6 of the title, and then again most recently in issue 27. And it's Sabertooth who's talking here, and he's talking to Rogue, who's come to visit him in his room in order to learn exactly what is the history he teased to her between him and Gambit. So we've got this great splash page here with Gambit leaping across the rooftops of Paris, Montmartre, the Church of Montmartre there in the background. Really nice work, lots of detail by Andy Kubert on this page. Must have done a bit of research for this too, because the rendering of the buildings and the architecture is exactly that of Paris. So the creative team here: Fabian Nicieza, writer; Andy Kubert, penciler; Matt Ryan, inker; Bill Oakley, letterer; and Digital Chameleon, colorist. So that is Lovern Kinderski again. Let's continue with this comic. So we turn to the second page, and we've got this cool image of Gambit leaping from one of the rooftops to the ground. There's a woman screaming, and here he is jumping into the rescue and knocking, as it turns out, Sabertooth to the ground. And Sabertooth doesn't look too happy about it at all. This huge, hulking, muscled figure, the way that Andy Kubert drew him, with his long claws there and the fangs in his teeth, the fanged teeth that Andy Kubert drew him with. So he looks really monstrous, savage, a real antagonist to contend with for a young Gambit, as it turns out, because Gambit in this story is, according to him, just 4 months shy of his 18th birthday. So he steps in between Sabertooth and the girl, and Sabertooth says to him, "Get your pogo stick out of my face, boy. It ain't polite to point. It ain't polite to butt in where you're not wanted either. The frail took something that belongs to someone else. I've been hired to get it back. Stay out of this and stay alive." But Gambit pulls out one of his playing cards and charges it up kinetically using his mutant power, and flips the card at Sabertooth, who begins to back away down this dark side alley. And we see here in this panel that he's putting together who Gambit is. Nice card trick, boy. You're a mutie and a Cajun. Thieves Guild punk, ain't ya? Ain't run into any of your clan in years. A long way from the Big Easy, ain't you? So Sabertooth putting it all together about who this young man is, who has thwarted him in terms of his hunting down the girl in Paris. So Sabertooth, as he disappears, and I love this decision of Andy Kubert's. We've got Sabertooth's perspective from the dark alleyway back at Gambit and the girl, and Sabertooth says, "Round one to you, kid, but I'll be back, boy," because Sabertooth don't like losing. And of course, this is the story that he's telling Rogue, and it turns out that he's got this gadget on his forehead, which is a gadget that projects his memories. So you get this holographic display, or this visual display of his memories from the alleyway of Gambit comforting the girl. And here we've got Rogue in Sabertooth's room as he's muzzled and manacled, listening to him tell the story. So she asks him, So why didn't you kill him then and there and take the pendant back? That's your style, isn't it? Sabertooth's clever though. He's not just a monster that acts only on instinct and appetite. He says, when I was a kid, 15 or so, laying down rail from Calgary up to the Yukon, this guy was busting me for days, walked up to me in a bar after hours. He had 100 pounds on me and a broken bottle in his hand, and I gutted him from crotch to Adam's apple with my claws. Rogue says, what a tough guy you are, Sabertooth. Still ain't answered my question. He says, you can only get surprised once by someone you think is weaker than you. You take away that one shot, then they lose the upper hand. Seeing LeBeau's hand glowing like that, well, it was his one shot. And not giving him the chance to play that hand turned a routine pinch into a hunt. So Sabertooth's a clever hunter, and that's the point being made there. So he gives a little spiel there about the Beast's memory image inducer, teases Rogue about whether she wants to try it here. I like this image of Sabertooth kind of mock bowing to Rogue, like the way that Kubert has rendered the anatomy there. The huge shoulders on Sabertooth looks really good. And Rogue just isn't interested in any of Sabertooth's attempts to tease and provoke her. She orders him, just keep telling me about what happened in Paris, Creed. So he goes back to the story and he tells her how he followed Gambit. So he's trailing him. Gambit heads to this cafe bistro, and there he meets his adopted brother, Henri. So we first came across Henri in Gambit's recent mini-series, the 4-issue limited series. You can find the reviews of all those 4 issues here on the channel. And in issue 1, Henri made his first appearance and also died in that issue, was because he was cut down by the Assassin's Creed at the X-Mansion, on the veranda of the X-Mansion. So it turns out here that Gambit is undergoing an initiation into the Thieves Guild. So he's a member of the clan. He was adopted by Henri's father, Jean-Luc Lebeau, and this is his initiation. So Henri says here, as required by the Tracts of Passage, I accompanied you as your sponsor, but if you fail yourself, Remy, then you fail me and Papa too, because Henri thinks that Remy ought to focus on getting the pendant from the girl rather than seducing her. So he goes into the details of the mission, the initiation mission. This be the pinch, he says. Martin Herzog, a Canadian financier with European interests, was having an affair with the girl Genevieve Darcanot, who was the daughter of an infamous and imprisoned jewel thief. She stole a very valuable pendant from Herzog, L'Etoile de Tricherie, the cheating star. Okay, so that's the what would we say, like that's the jewel that Sabertooth is trying to acquire, and also Gambit from the girl. So young Gambit says that it's basically fun that he is having seducing the girl. He says, for me, to his brother Henri, his adopted brother, he says, the pinch is the game. Put yourself in my shoes, brother. 4 months shy of my 18th birthday, when I am to participate in an arranged marriage to bring peace between the assassins and the thieves. So that's the arranged marriage with Belladonna Boudreaux, and we first learned about that way back in X-Men, Adjectiveless X-Men number 7. So he says there, let me have some fun while he still can. And up here, this is a great shot of Sabertooth up on the roof of this building watching Henri emerge from the Cafe Bistro. I like the way that Kubert has twisted his body, and his head and neck is sticking out here with the mane going back over his shoulders and down his back. Really, really good stuff. So Sabertooth says here, I was starting to get the measure of the kid. He was more complicated than I thought. Question was, what mattered more to Lebeau? His responsibility to his clan or to himself? Getting the answer to that was going to come in the end game. Also, I want to note the coloring here. So this is this digital coloring again, and I like the way that the light is rendered emerging from the Cafe Bistro out onto the street here. We've got the yellows, and then we've got, as the light fades, the colors turning into purple. Really, really nice work from the colorist. So here we're back to the story, and Gambit, having robbed a baguette and some cheese and wine from a shop, he heads out to a park with Genevieve, and he uses his mutant power to kinetically charge the cork on the bottle of wine to pop the cork. And so this takes Genevieve by surprise, and she asks how did he do it? So he says, don't be scared. And she says, I'm not frightened, it's just. And then and this is interesting, at this stage he doesn't have full command over his mutant power, so he's actually charged the wine in the bottle too, and it explodes out of the bottle and over Genevieve. And then Gambit, suave seducer that he is, says, we can always get a new bottle of Sauvignon, and as for the shirt, well, we can always deal with that. And up here, peeping Tom in the trees, is Sabertooth. Great image of him up here with the double lighting as well. After a couple of days of watching, I had the kid inside and out. Now I knew what kind of control he had over his muty abilities, and it wasn't enough. He had no discipline, no purpose. He didn't need to use his powers to do anything more than a couple of tricks to impress the chicks and scare off the rubes. But since I wasn't either one of those, LeBeau's powers weren't going to do nothing to stop me. So young Gambit's in trouble. And then we snap back to the present here, and a little interlude where Jubilee is getting ready for some 90s TV, Oprah Montel or Geraldo, and she's got her Oreo cookies and her TV guide there, ready to roll in a glass of milk. And then she's scared, and suddenly, by somebody talking from the ceiling rather. Jubilee, far be it from me to interject, but might I suggest for a snack you should finish the book report on Les Miserables you still owe the professor. And it turns out to be the Beast, who's hanging upside down from the ceiling, and he's there thinking, because Jubilee asks him, like, what are you doing up there in the dark? And he says, just pondering the wisdom of the old axiom, Jubilee, is the enemy of my enemy my friend? So he elaborates, I fear that in order for us to obtain vital information on the legacy virus, we're going to have to infiltrate Mr. Sinister's stronghold, and to find out what that dubious gentleman is really up to. And that is set up for the end of this issue and next issue, so we'll see that in due course. And then we're back to Rogue in Creed's room as Creed continues to play with the memory image projector. Gambit kissing that young girl that he seduced, and then Creed talking to his employer, who turns out to be Herzog, and he says to Herzog, no offense, bub, since you're paying the bills, but you were a sap, because Herzog was saying that he was in love with Genevieve. Getting involved with a frail never leads anywhere, says Creed. Only thing you ever get out of it is more proof that no one's worth bothering with, because people are selfish, Herzog. Selfish to the core. So that's Creed's cynical life philosophy, but we'll actually see what he says here pay off on the final panel of this story, which isn't just about Gambit but also about Sabertooth in many ways. So Herzog tells him to quit smoking, and Sabertooth's response here is when Herzog says smoking is a vile habit, Sabertooth says maybe, but to some people fooling around on your wife is pretty vile, as he stubs out the cigarette on Herzog's face. And then we get this interesting little transition device here where we've got the picture of Genevieve with Herzog, and now Genevieve with Gambit, and she's wearing the pendant she stole from Herzog. So, and Gambit of course is smoking too. And they're looking at the picture there. Genevieve is legitimately in love with Gambit, so he kisses her, and they lay down on the bed. But Gambit, the eye of the tiger is on the pendant the whole time. Great illustrations here of Paris in the background the whole time. Eiffel Tower there, of course. Really lots of work on the backgrounds from Andy Kubert in this issue. So then she wakes up later in the night and the pendant's gone and Gambit's gone. And here's this horrifying image of Sabertooth, who's come in through the window. We've got the curtains blowing around him and his whole face in shadow except for his red eyes and those huge fangs and teeth and his claws. Really excellent work from Kubert again. So he says to Genevieve, Romeo cut out on you, girl, and took a piece of your heart while he was at it, eh? Real shame that to get the pendant back, I'm going to have to tear a few more pieces out as well. So then we transition to Gambit, who has left Genevieve with a skip in his step. He even stopped off for a croissant and coffee on the way back to his brother Henri, where he was staying, and he finds the place empty. But there's a note there and a riddle. It's where the hunchback lost something he cared for as well. So this is one of Sabertooth's literary references. Sabertooth's read some books. He's read The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. A literary allusion, Creed Rogue asks. Well, I figured that the kid was stupid, but he wasn't an idiot, right? Notre Dame, perfect place for the end game, I thought. So great illustration of Notre Dame here as well by Kubert, the Gothic cathedral. And then this anchor image of Sabertooth holding via two ropes Genevieve and Henri. So Gambit arrives and Sabertooth tells him, get up here or they both drop. So Gambit, under 18, is shocked, saying, you want the pendant? You threatened their lives for jewellery? But it was all a game. So he's going to learn the hard way that Sabertooth doesn't play games. He says here, games are for children, LeBeau. You're in the big leagues now. Here's the deal. You toss the pendant, I catch it. Of course, I'm a righty, which means I'll have to let go of the rope. But they will fall. Gambit's putting it together. Then this is insanity, Creed, insanity. Maybe it is, boy, but guess what? You get to choose which one you catch. So Gambit's sweating now. And Henri's sweating too. So he's got a decision to make. So he throws the pendant at Creed's feet. Your move now, he says as he continues sweating. Punk had guts, didn't he, girl, says Creed in the present to Rogue. But I could tell he was scared, real scared. Games didn't seem quite so much fun anymore. So here we go. We got to turn this one to the side to see the outcome. Sabertooth drops the ropes. Gambit leaps. And he grabs the end of one rope. Of course, whose rope has he grabbed? Henri's. What was he going to do? Says Sabertooth as he laughs here in the past. Let his own brother die? And there he is disappearing with the pendant. The game was over and I got the prize. And Remy, what did he get, Creed? Rogue asks. Exactly what he deserved, Rogue, says Sabertooth. And that is the girl dying on the ground. And what she says to him, Remy, I did love you. I would have given l'étoile to you. She would have given the pendant to him. Why take what someone's willing to give? That's what the frail said, says Creed, as she died in his arms. So Gambit stole what she would have handed over to him, the pendant, her love, but it was all a game to him. Too bad I raised the stakes. This is a great final panel here, borderless, just Gambit leaning over, distraught, the dead body of Genevieve and Henri here. No doubt relieved he's alive, but unable to help. Great work on these pages. And then we're back to the present as Sabertooth's words echo in Rogue's head. Remy LeBeau has never given away anything in his life without a reason, he says to her as she walks down to the lake, Breakstone Lake. I love the bare trees in the background. We're still in winter time, and Gambit here asks Rogue, you went ahead and talked to him, Rogue? Of course, he only told you about my run-in with him when I was a pup. Didn't mention the other times we bumped heads, right? what difference does that make? It's not about you and him. And that's an interesting point there, right? Because we're going to learn about some of the other times that Gambit ran into or bumped heads with Sabertooth, and most particularly in Uncanny X-Men 350. And so he's feeling around to find out whether Creed got to the real dirt on Gambit. But no, he just told the story of Gambit and Creed in Paris. So Rogue says to him, it's about us, I'm in love with you, and I'm afraid you don't know what that word really means. So Gambit says, what happened with Sabertooth and the girl was a long time ago, Rogue. I was a different man back then. What kind of man are you now, Remy, she asks. That's why I need you to help me find out. And we just see his eyes here narrowed and the dark shadows on his face. And in the background, we still have that lingering question of who is the ex-traitor. And, you know, there still is that mystery about those other meetings with Sabertooth, which, as I said, will be revealed in Uncanny X-Men 350 some years down the road. And here we go back to Creed in his cell and the memory projector, and the Beast is outside the cell. And he greets Beast and says, I'm being a good little boy using this flaming camcorder to pry open the insides of my head. And get this one, Xavier said it would provide a valuable means of learning to bond with those you've hurt, as he remembers there and projects battles with Wolverine, and better show you the consequences of your actions. So Beast gets to the point when Sabertooth asks him, what does he want? I need you, lucid and cooperative, for a debriefing tomorrow morning at 10. I like this. This is a funny bit where he says, oh, what do you think? You're still an Avenger, McCoy? Hardly. You just have information we need. What makes you think I'll give it to you? Because your choice is either to join the world or fight it, and you haven't been too victorious with the latter, have you? See you tomorrow then. And then, this is the interesting bit I talked about earlier, where what he said to Herzog about everybody being selfish and being a sap for getting involved with a frail, we see Sabertooth's a fleeting memory of his, or a thought of his. The holographic image flickers, locking on to one stray thought, flitting through Creed's mind. A thought of a woman he once called Eleni Zauber, nursing a child named Graydon, and a red-hot hatred rises in his heart for the woman who betrayed him and the son who failed him. But it is gone as quickly as it came, leaving an empty shell of a man, and he has no clue how to do it. Who needs to fill the black void inside of him and has no clue how to do it. So the lettering placing there didn't really work. But anyway, interesting this. Turns out Lenny Zauber was an alter ego identity of Mystique, and of course Graydon, their child, is Graydon Creed, the leader of the Friends of Humanity, the anti-mutant organization. So Sabertooth got involved with a woman and, had his heart broken. Also, interesting that the implications of the story he told Rogue, not just being to do with Gambit, but also himself and the black void inside him. So, next up, into the heart of Sinister. And I do hope that you enjoyed this issue. The letters here, there's a double letter page, and it's all letters to do with the wedding issue number 30. But I hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on X-Men 33. If you did, please like the video in YouTube, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.